There's only 3 episodes left of The Acolyte, and with episode 5 it was the best one we've had so far, but that's not saying a lot. This episode was very action centered, as we saw this Sith character take out a good handful of Jedi and even make like a lightsaber kebab out of them. We also get to find out in this episode the identity of this Sith character, and it turns out to be May's friend.
No way!
Now, we still don't know the full title of this character. Some people still call him Darth Teeth, and there's other names out there as well. But in the merch, he has been named as the Stranger, which is funny actually because that's the same name Rings of Power used for their Gandalf character. So there is a link between Rings of Power and the Acolyte, other than them both being shit.
Oh, it's bad. Excuse me, kids, I need to run.
As I said, this is the best episode so far, and that's mainly down to the fact that the fighting choreography is pretty decent. There's some pretty well done lightsaber battles, and I think Daphne Keane is a standout as being the best of the bunch in terms of being able to wield a lightsaber convincingly, and I think this behind the scenes footage shows her ability. However, we won't be seeing much more of that because her character Jeki does get killed by the Stranger, and we also see Yord get his neck snapped as well. And the big issue of this is that I had no emotional reaction to these characters getting killed, and that's because they haven't been developed well enough for me to care about them. Like, the only character who, if they do eventually die, I'll actually have any flicker of emotion towards will be Sol. And with the way the Acolyte seems to be evolving, it might be the case where we have all these characters die, so the emergence of the Sith stays hidden because, you know, like we saw in the Phantom Menace, the Jedi believe that the Sith haven't been around for millennia.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
There's been quite a lot of discussion online about the quality of these lightsaber battles, some saying they could be the best we've seen in the Star Wars universe, but for me, any lightsaber battle is only as good as the weight behind it. Like we saw with Luke taking on Darth Vader, you saw that emotion in that fight. We know the character so well, and so it delivered a great result. Whereas with the Acolyte, like I said, I don't care about these characters even when they are fighting for their life, and so you can do as amazing lightsaber battle as you'd want. I still won't rank it any higher than anything like we saw with Luke and Darth Vader, and even I was saying the prequels with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Even though there was a lot of sort of twirly-whirly sort of dancing sort of moves there with that battle, it still had these two characters, you know, the master and the apprentice, the brotherhood of these characters taking over the screen. Whereas here we've got, you know, a Padawan I don't really know versus a Sith character I've only just met. In the previous episode we got a glimpse at those moths, but in this one we see the ball bags fully open, all the moths come out thanks to Pip and attack this Stranger character. Because as we learned in episode 3,
the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
There does seem to be some sort of past connection between Sol and the Stranger, because he says, "Don't you remember me?" And Sol is quite mysterious because he was nowhere to be seen at the start of the episode when the other Jedi were getting slain, and also in the flashback episode he comes back miraculously to save Osha and obviously not May. It is going to be interesting to see once the Acolyte concludes how this all affects Star Wars as a whole, because last week there was a lot of anger about Ki-Adi-Mundi being involved because his character wasn't supposed to be alive at this point in the timeline, and my question is, why is he even here at all? There must be some reason why he was brought in here, not just for the sake that, oh, it's someone we know, let's bring him in to the show. And with any new addition to a franchise, it's like an operation. You have to wait until it's finished to see what scars it leaves behind. Now, I'm not confident it's going to look pretty because of the writing team involved here, which I went through in the last video, and how inexperienced they are and how poor the script is. Towards the end of this episode, we see Osha and May look like they're making up and they're giving each other a nice hug, but no, it's all bollocks. They actually don't like each other at all, and Osha and May have a fight, which leaves Osha on the floor, and so May then decides to cut her hair with her lightsaber to look more like Osha, and she changes the clothes, and she is now in the place of Osha, with Sol being none the wiser. But as the episode kept reminding us, we still have this character called Basil around, and he joined May and Sol on the ship as they left, and he was brought in to be a tracker to hunt down Kelnaka. And so he's got the nose to maybe tell Sol that this isn't the real Osha. I mean, I assume that's why he's hanging around, otherwise he's just there for merch, really.
Hello, I like money.
I wasn't a big fan of the Ahsoka series, but at least for that show, when the episodes did come to an end, you had an outro with a decent piece of music playing, and it felt like you're watching a TV program that's had a bit of effort behind it. Whereas with the Acolyte, the episodes just end, and it goes just to a normal sort of Star Wars end credits, and that's it. And it feels so anticlimactic. And even like, the show didn't have any intro or anything, so it feels like there's not really any character to the Acolyte when it comes to the actual package of the show. All of my criticisms from my previous Acolyte video are still valid here, but episode 5 was the most bearable one to watch because of the action that took place. But I'm still annoyed with the fact that this is a Star Wars show, and Star Wars has got the short straw when it comes to the quality. Because you look at House of the Dragon, you look at The Boys, that both of those shows just look amazing compared to this show. This show just feels like it is just content for content, and that really pisses me off.
Another thing that grinds my gears is when I can't find the droids I'm looking for.
Yeah, me too. What gives with that?
There are rumours that Darth Plagueis might be involved in this show, and I really hope that's not the case because of what we've seen so far with the writing here. Because Darth Plagueis, like we saw with Anakin and Palpatine's talk when he says about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise, he's got a bit of mystery about him, especially for those who've only watched the films and don't know, extended story behind his character. But if he is introduced, I'm like, oh, why? Why? Because I said in the last video, I'd like to see Star Wars just move away from everything we've seen before. Just have no connection to that previous Skywalker saga. Just have it as its own thing. Let's start fresh. But if they're just so constantly wanting to always reference something we've seen before, I mean, they've done that now with Ki-Adi-Mundi, but why? Why can't we just have something? Why can't we just trust in the universe instead of having to trust in the fan service in terms of those characters we know? Like, make new characters who we're going to love. Like, it just feels like it's like, oh, we have to bring this in, otherwise people aren't going to be interested. Like we saw with the show Arcane on Netflix, if you create a well-crafted story, you'll get people on board. Like, even if they've never seen or never played League of Legends before, they'll be like, okay, well, everyone's saying this is great, I'll check it out. And Star Wars can do that as well. That's how they can bring new fans in. But it seems right now that their strategy to bring in new fans is to pander to people on Twitter or to just make something cute and cuddly. Anyway, that's just a few of my thoughts on episode 5 of The Acolyte. There will be more videos on The Acolyte coming up, as well as more film reviews as well, so do keep it locked to the channel. But in the meantime, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you'd like to watch another video on screen or a couple that YouTube have recommended for you.